Ever wonder what separates beginner aerial photographers from the pros?
Sorry.
Well, in this video, we'll cover the exact steps to get professional landscape photography with your drone, so that next time you're in a epic place such as this, you'll walk away with some great photos every single time. Right off the bat, starting with my biggest tip, I can't emphasize enough the importance of being comfortable flying your drone in general before we even click the shutter button on the remote control. Because not knowing your drone to its fullest can be quite the distraction. So if you find yourself sweating a bit extra while flying from nerves, maybe a sign that you need to get some more flight time and practice in. But let's assume you're already flying around like Tom Cruise in, what's that movie? Oh, I'm gonna get Mission Impossible. But let's assume we're already flying around comfortably like Tom Cruise in Top Gun. This is where we need to talk about gear briefly, which is the drones that will help us to capture the beautiful images that we're after. And at the entry level, you've got the Potensic Atom 2. This drone uses roughly a 1/2-inch sensor and captures 12 megapixel raw photos. Now, it's lightweight, easy to travel with, and a solid resolution for social media, small prints, or just building up your skills. Stepping up from there, we've got the DJI Mini 5 Pro, and this is where things start to feel serious, while still staying ultra portable. It features a 1-inch sensor and captures high resolution 48 megapixel stills. Now, that larger sensor makes a noticeable difference in dynamic range and low light scenarios. That means that shadows are cleaner, highlights hold together better, and you've got more flexibility when editing raw files. For travel photographers and hikers who want strong image quality without carrying a massive drone in their bag, this is a sweet spot. And I've actually done some backpacking with its predecessor, the Mini 4, on the Camino de Santiago, and I loved it. Then at the top, you've got the DJI Mavic 4 Pro. The main wide-angle camera uses a micro four thirds sensor and captures 100 megapixel raw photos. So it's kind of insane, and a micro four thirds sensor is like having a full camera in the sky, which is just wild. And then it also has two other lenses, a medium tele and a telephoto, that shoot at high megapixels for more compressed looking images as well. Stronger dynamic range on this drone, so if you're shooting sunrise or sunset or any high contrast scene and you really care about file quality, this is where there's a major difference. Do you need filters for drone photography? Everybody always asks this, and filters can actually help quite a bit. While the NDs are probably more tailored for video, a polarizer filter can make your landscapes much more vivid and cut out unwanted reflections, which is especially apparent on landscape images above water. So yes, filters can be pretty great actually. But more than just the gear, much like traditional landscape photography, composition is going to be absolutely key. In fact, it might be the most important aspect. So when you're shooting from above, keep these principles in mind. Number one, I say it in a lot of videos, admittedly, but incorporating leading lines into your drone photos, this is elements like roads, rivers, and streams, and these elements can help guide the viewer's eye through the frame to a subject, making it look much more intentional. Also, looking for overlapping elements like mountains, clouds, or trees add a lot of dimension and intentionality and depth to your shot. When framing your landscapes and choosing between horizontal or vertical orientation, it's not just, I want to post this on social media, so I should probably shoot vertical, although it's definitely a factor. The scene usually helps dictate this. If you've got a feature that runs wide from left to right, that may lend itself more to a landscape orientation, while taller objects or center-weighted scenes would be better in vertical. And some drones can fully rotate their camera for vertical images, and for drones that don't have that functionality, you can always take a vertical panorama and stitch it later in post-processing. Also, don't forget about those top-down shots. Shooting directly down flattens the scene and emphasizes patterns, making this also a great option for abstract landscape images. And there's definitely no shortage of abstract landscapes out here in the desert. All right, another helpful tool for framing your subject and landscape scenes is toggling on the rule of thirds grid. This can help create balance in your framing and guide the viewer's eyes. You can position key elements in your scene along the intersecting lines of the grid for the best result. And speaking of key elements, including some level of subject in your landscape aerial photos can really make them more focused and intentional. It doesn't have to be the most obvious subject, but having something in frame that is more deliberate helps tell a story, ultimately drawing the viewer in. Another pro tip here is to step into your landscapes yourself. This can help add a sense of scale to a vast scene. You can do this by setting up the self-timer on the drone and hiding the remote. Or honestly, sometimes I just put the remote to my side. Just as important, if not more important than composition, is lighting. The best aerial landscape shots are often taken in soft directional light. Golden hour, you're seeing it right now, is the time around sunrise and sunset and provides warm, dramatic lighting with a nice balance of contrast to your landscapes. It also brings out the vivid colors in your landscapes so much more. But blue hour, which is the time just before sunrise or after sunset, can also provide that soft, cool tone to create dreamlike landscape images. And honestly, don't sleep on blue hour. It provides some fantastic photos. Admittedly, photographing drone landscapes in midday does pose some challenges. The harsh overhead light isn't the most flattering thing, and it can flatten landscapes, but it can also work well for capturing textures in some top-down landscape shots. Camera settings are key in photographing landscapes with your drone, so here are a few things to keep in mind. Starting with number one, please just don't shoot in JPEG. Always shoot in RAW or DNG. This gives you more flexibility in post-processing, especially for balancing highlights and shadows. And overall, RAW gives you all the information possible from the drone camera's sensor. And I mean, we paid for the full drone, we might as well get the full information out of the sensor from the camera. Next, use a relatively fast shutter speed to avoid any unwanted motion blur in your photo. Well, since the drone is flying around somewhat fast, sudden wind bursts can shake the photo and potentially add motion blur. So shooting with a fast shutter speed can help that. However, one thing you want to avoid when possible is raising your ISO on the drone too high. The lower, the more clean your final image will be and free of any unwanted noise. When it comes to white balance, I tend to leave this setting in auto, and while I don't trust this to be 100% accurate out of the camera, because we're shooting in RAW, we have the flexibility to change this in post to our liking. A few techniques to also keep in mind here is, if your drone has the feature, take advantage of the drone's auto exposure bracketing, sometimes called AEB. Makes sense, right? This helps capture high dynamic range scenes, especially when shooting brighter skies and dark landscapes. Essentially, this works by taking 3 photos, sometimes 5, underexposed, properly exposed, and overexposed. That way you can merge those photos in post-processing for a more balanced result with plenty of information to work with. Another major technique is to utilize the panorama feature. You can also do this manually by panning the camera, but this helps to maximize the amount of pixels in our final image. So for example, a wide photo of a landscape scene is capped at the sensor's native resolution, but if I fly closer into the scene and capture multiple images to stitch later in post, well then I'm getting a ton more resolution, since I'm getting the resolution from each of those individual photos and then combined together. When shooting with a multi-camera drone like the Mavic 4 Pro, definitely take advantage of the second and third lens. Now that medium tele and tele perspective can just add so much more compression and depth to your landscapes. This means that distant objects look much more grand and just more epic overall, which we're flying drones here, so that's kind of what we're all after at the end of the day. All right, we have to talk about it. I do want to note, while you're flying, you may find yourself near parks with certain regulations around flying drones. It's really important to plan ahead and be aware of these rules so that you're fully compliant whenever you're flying. In fact, I can fly the drone right here on this side of the river, but not on the other side. So just being aware of these restrictions is so important, and you can check out the app Air Control to see these restrictions ahead of time. Aerial photography is truly one of the most fun ways to experience and photograph landscapes compared to more traditional, I call it land-based photography. It gives you unique perspectives and sometimes even grants access to locations that would otherwise be impossible to photograph. Or maybe I'm just like really sore one day and don't feel like hiking up a mountain, I'll just send the drone. But all that to say, if it provides some really unique photos of places that may not have ever been captured before. And isn't that cool to say you walked away with a unique shot? I hope this helped to better capture landscape photos with your drone, but let me know down in the comments, what's your favorite technique for drone landscapes? My name is Matt, and thanks for watching.